Someone who truly exemplifies exactly what I have in mind is our commencement speaker. Concordia University, Wisconsin is committed to helping students develop in mind, body, and spirit for service to Christ in the church and in the world. And today's speaker helps Concordia bring a focus to that intersection between the church and the world in serving Christ. The Lutheran Church Extension Fund is at the intersection that I'm describing, and Rich Robertson is the president and the CEO of the Lutheran Church Extension Fund, LCEF, as it is familiarly known. It receives the money of church members and pays them interest on that money, and in turn it provides loans and facility planning services to churches, to schools, to universities like us, to child care centers, to church workers. These loans then enable construction of worship and teaching facilities and also help workers in the Lord's vineyard to own homes. The LCEF manages more than $1.7 billion of depositor assets and has a loan portfolio of just under $1.4 billion. Recently, LCEF opened the Lutheran Federal Credit Union. This group provides personal financial services to members of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod while sharing the benefits of biblical stewardship. Before his employment at LCEF in 2010, Mr. Robertson has had a varied career. He served in various senior executive positions in the consumer packaged food industry with companies like Wise Foods and the Kellogg Company and Keebler Foods. He also spent more than 4 years in land development and retail development in the Atlanta, Georgia area. His own college education was begun at St. Francis College in Maine and then continued at the University of Massachusetts. Since then, he has lived and worked in the Boston area, Elmhurst, Illinois, New Jersey, San Francisco, Atlanta, and now in St. Louis. While he was in Atlanta, he served St. Paul Lutheran Church and School in Peachtree City as president, as elder, strategy and planning committee chair, and as mission trip leader. Tomorrow he will receive at the commencement tomorrow afternoon the honorary Doctor of Laws from this institution. Rich and his wife Cindy have 3 children, Nathan, Shauna, and Bradley. Now please join me in welcoming Richard C. Robertson.
Greetings in the name of our Lord and Savior, the one who has faithfully shared an abundance of love yesterday, today, and with certainty tomorrow. President Ferry, Concordia Board of Regents, faculty, parents, but most important this evening, the graduates with advanced degrees of Concordia University, Wisconsin. Congratulations to you. All I can say at this moment is, wow. Wow. I would never have thought when I graduated back into that I would have the opportunity to be here tonight and to share with you a few words. If you'll forgive me, I want to make sure I capture this moment. Let's see here, I can do that, yeah. All right. Right, got it. There we go. No, gotta do that again. Son of a, there it is. Hey, let's do that, come on. Thank you very much, thank you. Great, perfect. All right, now I have a record of it. Let me compose myself. With 5,000 plus accredited institutions of higher education in our nation, you can just imagine that the amount of commencement speeches that are happening this weekend and probably will happen throughout the month of May. My guess is that the conversations that will be had by the commencement speakers will probably be focused on several topics that are pretty hot right now, like the political environment. You know, what would life be like with the Donald or another Clinton? Or perhaps that guy that has a close resemblance to Einstein by the name of Bernie. Or what about the global geopolitical environment that we have today and the threat of ISIS to our national security? Or would the challenges of our religious freedoms that is currently in the news be something that will be discussed during the course of the commencement speeches throughout this country. All great topics, certainly deserve our attention, but I want to talk to you and your stewardship of the future. So please forgive me, President Ferry, Board of Regents, faculty, parents. My discussion tonight is all about you all, the graduates. As I began to prepare for tonight, I did what most people do for research. I did a Google search. Well, what I did is I typed in commencement speeches. Guess what? There were 13 million articles at my disposal to read. That was a lot of help, wasn't it? But I will tell you what I gleaned from those articles, and I didn't read them all, by the way, was that it is rare that anyone ever remembers what the discussion was of their commencement speaker. In fact, it is odd that people actually remember who the commencement speaker was. Bingo! Now I know why President Ferry invited me here tonight. So as I continued my research, I learned of the distinguished Concordia commencement speakers of the past. Boy, it would have been nice, to have George W. Bush here, as you all did have in 2004. And I understand that the good governor, Governor Walker, was here not too long ago as well. So I went on YouTube, and I went to find their speeches, and I found them. And I think I listened to all of them, watched them. And I think that was about 3 weeks or so ago that I did that. You know what I read in Google the first time? I can't remember what they said. Well, this evening, you're not going to get a president or a governor. You're going to get a regular Joe. Now, I don't have an Air Force One, and I certainly don't live in a White House in the nation's capital. I'm just somebody that has had the privilege of a life full of excitement and joy. One that I know has been blessed, and there's been a decent share of challenges, but I pray all of you are as fortunate. While I promise to limit my conversation to the discussion so that you can enjoy yourselves this evening, I'm not going to let you off easy. I want to offer you one last challenge before you begin your next chapter. So the focus of my discussion this evening stems from a series of messages that were published in the Wall Street Journal back in the late 1980s. I know a lot of you were still just a sparkle in your parents' eyes back then. These messages appeared on a full page of the journal once a week for several weeks. My supervisor at work at the time shared them with his staff. He happened to be my mentor as well. But there was one in particular that I found very revealing for me personally and influenced me over the years. It was decisions, decisions. Allow me to share it with you. It went like this. The decision to do nothing is wise, but you can't make a career out of doing nothing. Freddie Fulcrum, you know the guy of the Fulcrum scale? Well, every decision that he wanted to make, he would balance. He'd say on one hand this and on one hand that. At the end of the day, he did nothing. When Freddie died, they carved a big 0 on his tombstone. The moral to the story? If you decide to fish, fine. Or if you decide to cut bait, fine. But if you decide to do nothing, you're not going to have fish for dinner. Decisions, decisions. Have you made a few already in your life so far? Of course you have. You make them on a daily basis. Not just one either. Hundreds. Maybe, I know that one decision, though, that for certain was a brilliant decision on your part, and that was to include Concordia University, Wisconsin, as part of your journey. A school committed to helping develop mind, body, and spirit for service to Christ and in the church and in the world. You are now at a point in your life, however, when decisions become even more meaningful. One decision will set you apart in a good or a great way, or that decision can be devastating. You may think you've already reached that point. I'm sorry to disappoint, but the opportunity for decision ramps up significantly as you are all about to cross this important threshold. Now it's your turn. Will you be fishing, or will you be cutting bait? Will your focus be about you, or will your focus be about us? What will be the foundation of those decisions? How will your faith play a role in your decisions? Much has been written about the how-to of decision-making, but I must share with you, the books only give you a glimpse of the realities of holding yourself accountable for the decisions you make. Okay, I went to Google again, typed in decisions, got another 13 million articles. There was abundance of definitions. There was one that said 6 tips for making decisions by Forbes magazine. Plenty of authors writing about decision, lots of how-tos, a reference to a clothing brand, a movie, songs. There's plenty of material out there, but not enough practical discussion on the topic. Sometimes the best learning is just living it. Just look at the daily news. It's full of people that have made outstanding decisions, and those that have chosen a path of few rewards. For example, let's look to the current US presidential elections. I knew I'd get that in. So how do you feel about the state of affairs with our political candidates and parties right now? The Republican Party started with 17 candidates announcing their intent to run for president. With a field of 17, the only way for some of them to get attention seems to have taken an approach that was getting ugly and essentially talking about other candidates negatively. The message was not about what they represented or their positions on key topics, but more about how awful the other candidates were. You know, the Democratic Party started out in a different way, but you know, that didn't last very long, did it? So how many of us today are saying, I'll show them, I'm not going to vote for anybody in November? Based on my theme, I think that qualifies for doing nothing. Graduates, that's not acceptable. It may not be that simple, but walking away from an important responsibility is not an option. There's just too much at stake for our future and the future of this nation to just walk away. Separate the personalities and learn about what drives each of the candidates and what you believe to be the right decision. Some of you might remember back about 4 years ago, a cruise ship that ran aground in Italy with the same name of this university, the Costa Concordia. You know, the captain of that ship made a decision to sail close to land. Actually, it was a small island that he was trying to get close to, so that one of his officers could wave to his family when they passed the island. Boy, that was a great decision. Well, at least they thought it was a great decision. In order to do that, the ship had to steer away from its approved navigation route. The Concordia ended up hitting a reef that ripped the entire underneath of a $569 million cruise ship, causing it to quickly capsize. And if that wasn't enough, that same captain made another poor decision to abandon ship and not leave anyone of authority to direct the more than 4,200 passengers to safety. 32 people died. It could have all been avoided. Captain Francesco Schettino will have to live with those decisions for the rest of his time. Decisions are made around us every day, nanoseconds and nanoseconds they come, and impact lives and determine our future. It isn't the makeup, it's in our makeup. It's the DNA of human beings. We're created in part to do that. God did not create robots. He created human beings in his likeness, and with that, we were given a brain with incredible capacity to make decisions. Decisions which we are held accountable for not only on this earth, but beyond. Allow me a few minutes to share a little bit about me and how my decisions played the role in my life. When I was sitting in your seat at my graduation, I already had a job offer from a national company to become one of their sales representatives in the state of Massachusetts. What excited me about the job was the part of the compensation package in which they offered me a brand new car to drive in. And by the way, I could use that car personally as well. Wow, fresh out of college, get a brand new car from a company. I'm there. Let's get going. That sealed the deal for me. The job itself, well, was not exactly what I was expecting to do fresh out of college with my shiny new diploma. Here I was, graduating from a well-respected university, and I was about to take a job with a cookie company. And not just any cookie company. It was the Keebler Company. And if you don't know anything about Keebler, the company is centered around this guy, an elf with a big red hat, and they live in a hollow tree, baking uncommonly good cookies and crackers. Strange bunch they were. Since I thought that I could put my education to work better than this opportunity as a cookie salesman, I had the plan of all plans. I was going to enjoy the company car that summer. By the way, the job was on Cape Cod, so that was another clincher. And then, in the fall, I was going to find what I called a real job. That summer and fall came and went. And what I remember is that I made a conscious decision to excel in that job, to be the best cookie cracker salesman in the company. And there were thousands of us. The first year went very fast, and by the end of my second year, I was already on a fast track to take on more and greater responsibilities. I have to admit, I never used that company car or any other car I had from Keebler to find another job. You see, I stayed with Keebler for 26 years and reached the position of executive vice president, responsible for 5,000 employees, all sales, distribution, and marketing of a $3 billion plus enterprise. Ernie Keebler, that's Ernie, by the way, the head elf, and I became very good friends. Decisions. In 2001, after a successful initial public offering, the executive team, which I was part of, decided to put the company up for sale. And I was an integral part of the selling process of the company, with many worldwide food manufacturers seeking to acquire Keebler. Bet you didn't know that Kellogg today owns Keebler. And Ernie Keebler and the elves and Tony the Tiger live in one big happy family. I was retained by Kellogg and became the executive vice president of Kellogg as we integrated companies. And after a couple years, I was asked to join another food company as the CEO of that food company. Despite the incredible fun of competing in the fast and furious food industry against the likes of Nabisco and Frito-Lay and General Mills, the decision to be part of the company I'm with right now, or shall I say the ministry that I'm with right now, was by far my best. Today, as it was mentioned, I'm the president and CEO of the Lutheran Church Extension Fund. You know, what is that? You heard from President Ferry a bit about it. It certainly doesn't sound as much fun as working with elves in a hollow tree. I may not have the opportunity to get to the company cookie jar as frequently as I did with Keebler, but the satisfaction and impact is far greater. Essentially, we're that financial institution that President Ferry talked about. We look and feel very much like a bank or a financial institution, with one key exception. Our entire focus is supporting the ministries of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. We're known for providing loans, yes, but we're much more than that. We do our best to go alongside ministries in support of their mission. It's not about us. We're just a small cog in the wheel. What I enjoy most of all about my job is that I am, interesting Pat said this, at the intersection of my faith and my business life. I pray that you will find that intersection with your future employers, because we need not have just churches and clergy to be the only leaders and proponents focused on the greater good. But every one of us in our society, we have to make sure that we play an impact as well. Decisions. The decision was a real blessing in my life because it gave me the opportunity to make far greater contributions than just shareholder value. But enough about me. Let's get back to you. I'm sure that I can speak on behalf of most of the parents and family in this audience by saying that we do not envy you, our graduates, today and this evening as you embark on making decisions that will shape the contributions on this planet. We've experienced soon to be a decade of challenges with few signs of true recovery, including meager job growth and the federal government that argues and yet does not resolve the problems at hand. They're letting our national deficit spiral out of control to the tune of $19 trillion. It's unfortunate. The international environment is even more uncertain, and countries like Greece, Italy, and Spain are on the brink of economic collapse, which could ignite a further economic worldwide meltdown. And did I mention ISIS, an organization that resorts to barbaric, ancient ways of dealing with their disagreements? The challenges abound, to say the least. Am I getting you depressed? That's not what my intention is. If anything, I believe opportunity is greater now than ever before. Yes, it may be more difficult to see and to touch, but it is there. What separates the achievers in this environment from those who want to sit on the sidelines is something I call PCP. No, not the drug, not the illegal substance. I'm talking about pride, commitment, and passion. I guess you could say it is a drug of sorts. When you demonstrate pride, show commitment, and share passion, the world will want to embrace you. People have the propensity to want to be associated with the individuals that have those attributes. Don't you? My own personal success has had a lot to do with my PCP, and so have others. So how much PCP will you be demonstrating next week, next month, and the years to come? Now it's your time, whereby some decisions will be small and some of great importance. But I charge you to make those decisions with deliberation. You will likely not make the most brilliant decisions all the time, but you will find that some of the greatest wrong decisions lead to other decisions that can be even more meaningful. What if a decision to change course so that the crew member would wave to his family, or if the decision to win at whatever cost had been made more thoughtfully and with the understanding of how it would impact others? I wonder if lives would have been changed and spared and reputations remained untarnished. My experience that I wish to share with you tonight is to include God in your process through prayer. Often we ask for his guidance during challenges, and we forget he's available 24/7. The answer may not come on our time, but remember, it's coming on his time. And your decisions can come on your time after contemplation by considering a greater agenda. Make decisions that improve lives and not just yours. The most rewarding decisions are those that have an effect well beyond you. You've grown up in a generation that is eager to buy products that provide shoes for children in other countries, help make farming more sustainable, support charities that provide livestock or microloans to the underprivileged. And you go on mission trips to repair homes or to teach children about the Bible. Don't stop doing that. The world needs that evermore. Create a balance that demonstrates servant leadership and be an example at your future employer that truly reflects who you are. As I said earlier, not every decision will prove to be the best decision, and that's okay. Our God is a forgiving God, but you must stand up and be strong in your decisions, knowing that you've made them thoughtfully and deliberately. It is better than making no decisions, letting others around you determine your fate and that of your world. There's biblical support for that. You know the parable of the 3 servants who were entrusted with talents by the master? The first 2 invested their talents, and the third dug a hole in the ground. He was condemned, even though he hadn't lost anything that had been entrusted to him. He had conserved it all. He was condemned because he chose to do nothing. He was a 0, and there was no room in the master's economy for a 0. There is no one in this class that graduates here tonight with an advanced degree from Concordia University that should ever have a 0 inscribed on their tombstone. You're too good for that. Show the world your PCP, your pride, your commitment, and your passion. Let me leave you with one last thought from a former president of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, a man who was confronted with many difficult decisions. He said, "In a moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing." Thank you, and wishing you God's richest blessings as you go forward.